Here is a quick video on square roots. Let A be a non-negative number. The notation radical A is pronounced square root of A. It represents a non-negative real number whose square is A. That is, A is greater than or equal to 0 and the square root of A squared is A itself. Examples. Square root of A, square root of 16 represents a non-negative number whose square is 16. One non-negative number do you raise to the second power to get 16? There is only one such number, namely 4. The square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 25 is the non-negative number whose square is 25. It is the positive number 5. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 36 is the non-negative number whose square is 36. What is it? It has to be positive. So what positive number did you raise to the second power to get 36? Answer, 6. Square root of 7 is the non-negative number whose square is 7. If you think about square root of 7, it has to be positive. So let's see, could it be 2? What is 2 squared? 2 squared is 4, not 7. So the square root of 7 cannot be 2. Question, could the square root of 7 be 3? Let's see, when you take 3 and you square it, you get 9. 9 is not 7. So square root of 7 cannot be 2, square root of 7 cannot be 3. Square root of 7 cannot be 1 because 1 to the second power is 1, not 7. Also, it cannot be 4 because if you take 4 and you square it, you actually get 16. So we conclude that square root of 7 cannot be an integer. But it can be proven mathematically to exist. What that means is that there is some real number. There is some positive real number that you raise to the second power to get 7. That real number, which right now I'm going to represent as an unknown, when you raise it to the second power to get 7, that real number happens to be between 2 and 3. You could be tempted to check to see if it's maybe 2.5. But 2.5 squared is 6.25. 6.25 is not 7. So what should we use there? Let me suggest that for now we should just use the symbol. The square root of 7 squared is 7. You want a decimal number for it. For now, use a calculator. If you use a calculator, the square root of 7 is that, it begins with that big, long decimal expansion. So square root of 7 is a number approximately 2.645. Some questions. What is the value of square root of 64? Now what we're thinking about here is a non-negative number whose square is 64. Answer, 8. 8 squared is 64. So the square root of 64 is 8. What is this? What is the value of square root of 5 squared? Well, we know that the square root of 5 is the non-negative number whose squared is 5. So based on that, the square root of 5 squared is 5. Where on the number line is square root of 5 located? Well, 2 squared is 4, so it's not located there because the square root of 2 is 4, not 5. It's not right there at 3 because when you square 3, you get 9. So whatever number we are looking for, square root of 5 has to be a number between 2 and 3. So question, could it be 2.5? Well, let's see. 2.5 to the second power is 6.25, which is too high. So maybe could it be 2.1 perhaps? 2.1 squared. 2.1 squared is now 4.41. That's lower than 5. So whatever square root of 5 is between 2.1 and 2.5. So somewhere in there, you'll find the square root of 5. If you want a better estimate of it, we can use the calculator and ask it, what is the square root of 5? It begins with 2.23. The notation square root of negative 4 represents a number whose square is negative 4. Can that number be a real number? Well, let's see. Could it be 2? Let's see, 2 to the second power is 4. So the square root of negative 4 cannot be 2 because 2 squared is not negative 4. 2 squared is 4. Now, it's not going to be 0 because when you square 0, what do you get? 0 squared is 0. So could it be a negative number? Could the square root of negative 4 be a negative real number? You're probably imagining that negative 2 should be the answer, but let's see if that's the case. Let me take negative 2. That's negative 2. Let me raise negative 2 to the second power. Answer is 4. So it is the square root of negative 4 negative 2? The answer is no, because when you take negative 2 and you square it, you get positive 4. What you end up concluding at this point is that the square root of negative 4 is not going to be positive, it's not going to be negative, it's not going to be 0. Fact is, no real number squared is negative 4. What is the value of square root of 7 accurate to 2 decimal places? Okay, so let's think about 7. Could the square root of 7 be 2? 2 squared is 4, so that doesn't work. Could the square root of 7 be 3? If you raise 3 to the second power, you get 9. So the square root of 7 is not 3 because 3 squared is not 7. So what we know is that it has to be between 2 and 3. So let's try something like 2.5. Could 2.5 be the square root of 7? So let's say 2.5 squared is, when you do the calculation, 6.25, not 7. So suggestion here is that it has to be higher than 2.5. So how about something like 2.6? What is 2.6 squared? Let's put that in the calculator. 2.6 squared is 676. So square root of 7 is not 2.6 because 2.6 squared is not 7. It has to be a little bit higher. So let's go to 2.7. 2.7 squared. What's that equal to? We can put it in the calculator. So 2.7 squared, 7.29. Now this is a little bit too high. 7.29. So we conclude that the square root of 7 is neither of these three values, 2.5, 2.6, and 2.7. But notice that whatever the square root of 7 is going to have to be a number between 2.6 and 2.7. You can try now something like 2.65. 2.65. Square that. What is 2.65 squared? It's 7.0225. So now I can dismiss my square root of 7 being between 2.6 and 2.7. It is actually between 2.6 and 2.65. If you try it a couple more times looking for values between 2.6 and 2.65, you will run across this best approximation, 2.64. One last question. With a calculator, obtain the value of square root of 42. So you take your favorite calculator, you type the square root of 42. In this calculator, I have to type the 42 first, then the square root symbol. In some calculators, you first type the square root symbol, then the 42. Learn how to use your calculator. Now, I want the answer rounded to the nearest 3 decimal places. So I get 6.481 because after this 0 is a 7. So the approximation to 3 decimal places is 6.481. That's all for now.